Well, I'm really curious. It's also something that he wanted me to check out. Well, Ray, I'm going to check it out right now. I like Ray Guy's channel. It's always on point, always straightforward, right? No BS, and I like also his. He's got strong opinions, and I like that. So let's see what he says here. We're going to talk about Starfield, and Ray says that our favorite mods might be impossible. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Behind Ray's guide. This video is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University and their online Bachelor of Science in Computer Game Design.
Cool.
Other games that have had similar partnerships have wound up their AMD SFR intelligent upscaling technology only, not with the competitive and more well-regarded DLSS from NVIDIA or XeSS technology from Intel. Now, the modder Pure Dark, who has done similar DLSS workarounds mods for other FSR games.
Okay, he's talking about the graphics. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on the channel where we said that I don't think it's going to be a big deal to that Starfield is partnership with has a partnership with AMD. I think it's still going to look great, but I think it's talking about a mod that will maybe enhance the graphics for those who have NVIDIA GPU chips, like me, for example. I do have that. So is this what he is talking about?
Has announced that he will have a comparable fix out day one for Starfield. Now, you might wonder how Pure Dark can promise that months before without having any access to the program itself. The reason is that Pure Dark's solution is something of a kludge. He runs the game through Reshade and then has Reshade add the DLSS magic. Now, as someone who has a recent vintage NVIDIA card with no interest at all in spending almost 4 figures for a new video card just to play Starfield,
you don't have to spend 4 figures in a video card, Ray. You can buy your 3060. It will be fine.
Pure Dark's work is welcome, but by jumping onto it, aren't we kind of giving Bethesda cover for being lazy about doing their job? I mean, for the price that AAA titles go for, don't we deserve to have full support for current lines of graphic cards? Having to pay a modder to do what absolutely should have been in the box from Bethesda should not be simply shrugged off. The second complaint I have been hearing a lot is that the romantic story arcs are available only for the 4 main characters of Constellation. So if you want to...
Ray. Oh, no. Ray wants to have romance with more characters? I didn't know you were this romantic, Ray. Ray, my God, what a player, Ray. He wants to have a romance with everybody.
pursue sexual intimacy vicariously through a video game character. Sorry, there really wasn't a less pervy way of saying it. Then this is your dating pool. Yeah.
So what? Come on. That's not why I'm playing a game, you know? I mean, I love the whole dating thing, and it's fun, right? But it's not the main point. It's just a little fun on the side.
Yeah, I get it. Unimpressive. Now this, from prior history of Bethesda modders, I have no doubt that they will make sure that you have a wide variety of 20-year-old Double D symphomaniacs to choose from.
Double D. Yeah, but the thing is, you're going to need a whole lot of voice lines to be able to do that. Yeah, if they don't have voice lines, it's not going to be as immersive as those bespoke characters are.
And if they can't figure out any other way to do it, they will just make alternate character models for every one of the members of Constellation as 20-year-old Double D nymphomaniacs. Yes, even this one. The third area that's gotten concern in this area is of no vehicles or not being able to pilot your approaches and takeoffs that are going...
Yeah, I made a video about this. That's my last video on the main channel. Not a problem. I think the maps are going to be quite small, and the jetpacks is what they have. Given how terrible and clunky ground vehicles are in space games, I'm thinking of Star Citizen, for example, it's okay. I end up never using ground vehicles in Star Citizen. It's super rare when I use a ground vehicle, and I especially don't use ground vehicles to go from a place to another. I prefer to walk, actually. That's how terrible the experience is. So that's why I don't have a problem not having a ground vehicle in
Going
Starfield.
to be likely to be impossible for modders to change, or at least to change with satisfactory results. I'll delve into why in the next section. And then there's the area that I'm most interested in, the disappointing news that 90% of the 1,000 planets promised will be barren rocks, unable to support life, and useful only as a resource supply and possible base building location.
Now, Ray, here you said filling the 990 planets. Now, you are not doing your math right because that's not 10%, that's 1%. It should be 900 planets, not 990.
Now, I can appreciate the experience of the magnificent emptiness, but 900 examples of magnificent emptiness? No, I'm more hoping that rather than being 900 empty barrenness, we are going to see 900 blank canvases for modders. And so my ideal modding tool will be a base importer, where you can take the base that you build in the game, import it into the modding tool, and then add the characters, dialogue, quests, etc. in order to convert it to an interesting mod, and then publish it, at which point players adding the mod to the game will get a new point of interest on their global view of the planet.
Yes, but the thing is, from what I understand, planets are going to be made of seeds. Maps are going to be seeds, and those seeds are going to be different each time you start a new game. So that's why it's not going to be possible, because then you place your. How can you do that? If there's a seed, it has to be on handcrafted content, but that means you would have to handcraft your own maps.
Not only does this have huge creative possibilities in painting those 900 blank canvases, but also as a way of converting my experience of creating in the game into something to share with others, creating a sense of community in a single-player game.
Now, I understand what he means, and I would love the idea as well of having my own city that I would build in my own mod and put it in the game. I just don't see how that's going to be possible to put that on maps that have procedurally generated seeds that are always going to be different each time you start a new game.
Or a group of modders
So it would have to be done on your own game for your own game save, because if you start a new game, then the planets are not going to be the same.
And set a backstory and theme to it, and then collaboratively fill out the whole planet with it as a basis. That's way more interesting a concept than just 900 versions of an empty nothing. But there will be challenges.
But and these empty nothings are not going to be empty, because even those empty nothings are still going to have bases or outposts where NPCs will be located. They will be devoid of life when we're talking about, alien creatures or vegetations, but there's still going to be outposts where NPCs would be having mining outposts, right? Or research outposts or pirate outposts. So they're not going to be fully empty.
With this sort of mod that haven't been part of prior Bethesda games. And that is because Starfield has such an entirely different scale to the game environment and ways of managing the game environment. So I need to talk first about what procedural generation is. Procedural generation is the technological successor of the old-school random map generator that you had way back in the earliest world-building and 4X strategy game. It's just more layers of sophistication. Now, computers don't actually do random anything very well. There are no dice inside of them. Rather, they have algorithms that, given a particular seed, will start to produce a sequence of numbers that will seem to be random, but in fact, the same seed will always produce the exact same sequence of numbers.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but that's what it is. I see that a lot when I'm playing Transport Fever and I'm generating new maps, right? They always kind of look different, but they're different and the same at the same time, right? That is procedural generation.
Which is, in fact, useful, because some games will allow you to enter a map number, which is just the seed to the random number generator, and that will allow you to try different tactics with the exact same starting conditions. And multiplayer games can give every player the exact same map just by sending the seed number to each other. And persistent games need only save the seed number once. The only way to get a player a map that seems completely new is to set the seed number to something that they have no control over, such as the milliseconds on the system clock.
Oh, okay.
In the Starfield Direct presentation, Todd Howard said the game generates a 1 kilometer square of terrain at a time.
Which is small. You're going to be able to traverse that really, especially 1 kilometer 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. I mean, you do that very quickly. It takes 5 minutes. When I'm walking in Star Citizen, when I run in Star Citizen from a bunker to my ship a kilometer away, it's 5 minutes.
Now that's a pretty small tile size for a planetary body. The Earth, for example, has a surface area of 510 million square kilometers. That's a lot, and way more than it makes sense to pre-generate. And it also means that from the global view, there is no way to click on a particular surface tile. There is simply not enough pixels or mouse resolution for that. I'm not sure what the bonus for fully surveying a planet will be based on, but I'm pretty sure it's going to mean visiting a number of locations that is more than one, but way, way less than 500 million.
Of course, it's just going to be maybe each planet will have 20 different locations you can go to, and that's going to be it, right? Based on what you click, you're just going to be to that place or that place or that place, and that's what it's going to be.
But Bethesda says that the planets are fully explorable, so I am presuming that it is possible to click on areas other than the marked points of interest.
I think it's the maps that you'll be able to explore are fully explorable.
What happens then? Well, I suspect that the system will take the latitude and longitude data for the lighting model, and then during the descent phase, cutscene.
And maybe also the biomes as well, right? If you want to go to a pole, then it's obviously not going to be the same biome as if you're going to an equator.
Calculate from a seed taken from the system clock the landing square kilometer, and then we'll force flatten, let's say, the 100-meter square in the center point, so the ship has a place to set down on at the end of the animation. Why do I say that the system will generate a new random map tile? Because they say that two people will visit the same planet and come back with different stories. That could mean a lot on a planet with life and cities, but a planet that is just a barren rock, there is little to be different other than the terrain.
Yeah, but no, there are going to be outposts. Maybe one place will have an outpost, and then another player at the same place instead will have a derelict outpost, and then another player at the same place will have a mining outpost.
Since it is possible to see terrain more than 450 kilometers away from the center of the tile, I suspect that the game will also pre-generate the 8 surrounding kilometer tiles in a 3x3 grid, and do the stitching algorithm to make them have a smoother transition. And then you move from the starting tile to any of the surrounding tiles, it will generate additional squares to keep a 3x3 grid surrounding your current location. Then when you launch from the planet, it will take the latitude and longitude seed values and make a new feature point on the global view so that you can return, particularly if you plan on making a base of that location or a mod. This
or a mod. I like.
is why I suspect that it will be impossible for any mod to ever offer piloted descents and launches, vehicles able to fly higher than a jetpack, and vehicles able to traverse the ground at high speeds.
Oh, that's his point then. That's what he's talking about. Your favorite mode might be impossible, which means going from space to planet. I see now.
Because you can either see the ground at the edges of the tile grid, or you can get to the edge tile faster than the system can in the background generate the new tiles at the edge. You literally fall off the edge of the world to the delight of flat earthers everywhere.
Delight of flat earthers. Yeah, basically, those maps are flat, right? These are not real planets. You cannot go walk around it like in Star Citizen.
But it also means we're talking about being able to create mods to create new landing locations at outposts. These mods have to include the procedural generation seeds for the kilometer of terrain.
There you go. It has to be that very seed that you have in your game, which is why I believe that that's also not going to be possible.
It's centered on. Otherwise, the outposts that you have built on a slight slope could be buried in an inaccessible cliff, or entirely underground, or hanging in the air. But there is more to it than that. Let's say you publish a mod that puts your custom base in a cool place, let's say on the North Pole. Now, it won't be quite the North Pole because, as I said, you can't actually put 500 million tiles on a computer screen.
Or maybe there will be a North Pole tile that will be accessible. We still don't know that yet.
But as close as they could click. But then somebody else also thinks to mod at the North Pole would be cool. You load both of those mods, and then you get 2 outpost markers, both trying to be at the North Pole, and overlapping each other so you can click on either of them.
Yeah, so that's why you're going to have really close and tight mod management too, so you can turn them on and off.
So there has to be a system, manual or automatic, for the end user to move the markers so that they can be individually chosen, but still keep the terrain seed underneath them. But moving the marker means moving the latitude and longitude, which could change the lighting model. But maybe the mod freezes only the terrain, but also the latitude and longitude information if a particular lighting was needed. And all this sort of thing that we get to know about what mods will be like in Starfield. Presuming that this will be just like other Bethesda games isn't a safe presumption.
Because the technology is different. I think that they have another engine that they're using, the Star engine that they're calling it. I forgot how they call it. Or Creator engine. Anyway, it's a brand new engine that they are using for this game. And so that's why also, some of the mods that exist in other games may not be possible for Starfield.
New and different limits in Starfield. Some things will be easy and others hard or even impossible. And changing one thing often has unexpected follow-ons. That's the nature of software development. There are always unexpected consequences to be anticipated and adapted to.
And that's why I'm not usually a big fan of mods. It's funny because I just talked about the Star Wars mod earlier, but I'm usually not a big fan of mods because, they're not made by the developers. They're not supported by the developers, right? So there can be issues like those issues that Ray just talked about, unfortunately, and then it can ruin your experience. And that's why when I play a game, I usually stick to the vanilla experience.
But modding is a great way to mix gaming and coding and design skills. Some modders eventually transition into it as a career, but often more than just modding skills are needed to transition your career. And one route to take to get that extra is our sponsor, the online Bachelor of Science in Game Programming and Development.
All right. So that's going to be the end of this video here. And that's why I like Ray. It's always straight to the point, logics, and I like how he's, making sure that we have to set our expectations right? It's not because there's a feature that we want that's not in the game that there's going to be a mod for it. It's actually entirely possible. It's not going to be the case because it's not possible. Was that clear? I'm not sure. Anyway.